The HTTP archive is a trove of data about how the web was built or is built. Now imagine the Wayback Machine having a love child with DevTools. Wow, that's weird. Anyhow, the HTTP archive really is a comprehensive look at some of the resources being fetched, web APIs being used, and other like really bizarre occurrences and trends. So we'll take a look at CSS, images, etc., but also you'll see things like, I don't know, the top 10 deprecated tags that are still in circulation. Anyhow, in 2019, they released a 20 chapter book, or I guess document essentially, uh, really deep diving in detail into some of this data. In 2020, they've essentially done the same, but this time they've actually included a chapter on the Jamstack. Now, here to share some of these findings is one of their contributors, Artem Denysov. So please welcome him. Enjoy.
Hey everyone. So I will probably ask the most asking phrase using people in 2020. Can you hear me well? Is it fine?
I can hear you, definitely.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. I'll try to share my screen. Okay. So can you see presentation?
Yes, we can.
Awesome. So my name is Artem, and I'm from Ukraine. So it's about midnight, and I might be a bit slow in some ways. But anyway, so let's start and talk about Jamstack in real numbers. The first thing I want to say about myself a bit. So I am working at Stackbit, and we are building a product for like connecting all the parts of the Jamstack ecosystem, like your Jamstack site, your API, API-based CMSs, your deployment target, and all that stuff. We're composing together, and you can build a site, like edit it and deploy in one single place. So yeah, that's about it. And what I've been working on with folks from the community is the Web Almanac. And as we already like talked about, it's an actual report which is like published each year. Like it's second edition this year, and based on HTTP archive data, and it's really awesome stuff. So we had Jamstack this year. It's first chapter about Jamstack, and I will talk about methodology because it's kind of really important to understand to not ask me questions, so I'll be embarrassed about. So there are 7.5 million websites on the dataset. Among them, 6 million mobile websites and 5 million desktop sites. And these sites are grabbed using Chrome user experience report. So they're a link, so you can like learn about it. But in general, this is report about user experience of real world websites from users who are using Chrome, just Chrome. And here comes some disclaimers about that. So we have data only about users from Chrome browser. No Safari, Firefox, Edge, whatever browser you wish. And it's only home pages of the sites. So you might understand that homepage might be super performant, super fast, or have really interesting data, but deep down into the website or product, it might be slow or have different varieties. So we are analyzing only like home pages of the websites in our data sets. And also we have clean environment, so no cache or something like that. And it's also like has its stamp there about how it's performing. But yeah, someone can like argue with that, someone not, but that's what we have. And we have like API, and it's it's also really hard to like bring here about data and like analytics and all this stuff, how to understand which APIs or which API-based CMS is used for these websites. So we have no like API data there at all. And we have 11T static site generators. So we like combined all static site generators, and we have no 11T data at all, because 11T has this concept that you build your HTML by your own, and this way there is no like possibility to distinguish that 11T site is actually yours. And that's the thing we dealt about. So the Twitter thread, if you're interested in participating discussion or get more info about the motivation about it, so you can just use a link and join the thread. So one more thing is Next.js. So you're expecting, I will say we have no Next.js, and it will be like completely uninteresting, right? But no, we have like Next.js with all its varieties. Like Next.js has a bunch of features like CSR, SSR, and Next.js as SSG. Right now, there is no way to distinguish between those things. So we have Next.js and as composed application without like dividing it on different parts, and it has its own like reflection in the data. So what we have in the end, we analyze only static site generators like Gatsby, Nuxt, Hugo, Jekyll, Next.js, and we included CDN providers like Netlify, AWS, Azure, whatever, and their full discussion. So we like spent a lot of time figuring out what we should bring, what we should reduce, and how it will be like for users who will read the chapter. So that's all there, and the actual Monac part. So there are also a link, so you can jump into it and read it. And this is fancy logo of the chapter. So and the actual data. So why and what we will talk about. So that's we didn't have like any like published information about Jamstack in 2019, but we have data. So we analyzed how like how was the adoption of the like SSGs back year then. Do we see that it's increased like in 2 times, right? So that's pretty awesome, because so imagine in like 7 million websites, you have almost 1% of the adoption, and technology is pretty new. And it says about something, right? And there is some saga or holy war, whatever you call it, Jamstack with WordPress. Some of you might be aware about it. There was like open letters and like hitting some stuff one into each other. But yeah, in general, I wanted just to show some results. So CMS adoption is like kind of staled. It's only a couple percent of growing year like with previous year, and we see that like adoption of actual SSGs and technology related to Jamstack is growing. So we really have good tension and good growing parts. And so what we had like most of the stuff with Hugo, Jekyll, Gatsby, and Next.js, and Next.js was kind of hitting all the place around, because it's really it has really big variety, and we missed one really important SSG, which is called Next. And after releasing the chapter, folks from the Next.js pinged us and say, guys, you forgot about us and you should not do that. And we actually added the data, and pretty soon we will update the chapter with new data, including Next.js. So if someone from Next community, thank you for like pointing this out for missing data, and it's really important because you see like real influence of that. So Next.js is about 60%, but I assume if we divide it by 3, so it will be around percentage like Next or Gatsby. I bet it is. So what's like SSG's adoption like with previous year? We see like Next.js is growing, but Next and Gatsby is actually not, which was really surprising. Hugo and Jekyll, yeah, they're kind of old technologies, so they're used less. But with Next and Gatsby, it's pretty interesting. They cut down. Then next year, for me, it will be really exciting because both of our three champions and leaders got founded this year. They raised different rounds of funding, and they will grow significantly. I hope, and the next year data will be really interesting. How will they manage to improve the adoption of their products? So the next data is about using third-party libraries, and we see that it's also growing, which is kind of not good, as was mentioned. Yeah, so in Jamstack is really young technology, and people actually probably not using it really wisely. The same with images. So we see the WebP format was actually decreased with all the effort from the community, from different angles, and it was not like really really good good numbers here. And we see GIF, right? It's about 20%. And my guess, if you ask me why we have so like PNG and GIF in sites, because like developers right now know a lot about optimizations, a lot of how to build sites properly. I think that the missing part between this like headless CMSs, like API-based CMSs and actual SSGs, is a gap between them, because if you see from another perspective, like SSG is what for developers, right? We like type like code everything, and we prepare to manage all the data which will be put in CMS and so on and so far. But the actual editors and users who using CMS, they are not familiar with that, and somewhere in headless CMS, it's kind of hard to put some restrictions for image formats, for size of the image, etc. And we have this huge gap between actual developers who deliver who deliver performance sites, and users who feel content on it, especially if it's like huge enterprises. And the next year will be really interesting in this area as well, because ecosystem is evolving and products coming up from different areas, and try to combine that to bring better experience for users. So yeah, I am really excited for next year's chapter to see all the moving parts going around. And we're getting closer to performance. So I already talking too much, but I'll try to speed up. So we have Core Web Vitals. This is like conception of metrics which will give you understanding how fast your websites are. And we like grabbed the compliance of all three metrics, like largest contentful page, first input delay, and cumulative layout shift. And we see that actually Hugo and Jekyll, who are getting less used, they're way performant than our like main main SSGs. And the really interesting part is getting down when you look at CDNs who serve these SSGs, and you see that GitHub, who's serving GitHub pages mostly, getting like the most, the fastest one, like the performance one. And since GitHub pages based on Jekyll, we can see the good correlation between them. It was really interesting to see what's going on. And actually, we have we can dive into Spreadsheet if we see it. Yeah. So it's loading. Yeah. So they're linked. So I don't want to like hold everyone and talk like deeper into each of the metrics, but you can like it's open spreadsheet, so you can just look at the data there. There's some interesting parts we've put, and we just extracted graphs from it. So actually, how do I get back? How do I get back? Okay, yeah. Okay, so and when we start to talk about distribution and SSGs served by different CDNs, we can dive into really interesting data here. So that's a screenshot, but I have like real real data. So we see that Netlify is serving most of the Gatsbys. So Gatsby sites are always like going to Netlify. And as we saw, like Jekyll is mostly on GitHub, but also Hexa and Hugo also like part of the GitHub CDN, which is also really interesting. We have AWS and like Next and Gatsby sitting together. Vercel, of course, it's a Next.js. It's no other way. So yeah, and Cloudflare, which is one of the interesting parts, because people sometimes put their sites on Netlify or AWS and put Cloudflare in front of it to like spread the traffic or CDN or security or whatever. And we managed to extract these sites and put them in a proper category, which it would be AWS or Netlify, who was like proxied from Cloudflare, sorry. But still, we have sites, pure sites who was placed, who's hosted on Cloudflare, and it's Next and Next.js in most of them, and Gatsby has third place. Yeah, and the almanac thing would not be like built without Rick Viscomi and Paul Vulcano and all the contributors. But I want to shout out to Rick. He did a great job last year, like putting everything into one place, because it's 20 something chapters, a lot of data, a lot of analysis, and managing it this year was even harder because of all the pandemic, all the stuff is going around, people is exhausted and burned out, and yeah, and all the contributors to the chapter are here. So yeah, you can reach them, you can find them on Twitter, follow them. They're pretty cool folks. I really recommend them. And yeah, thank you for listening to me. And I hope we might have some time for questions if you wish.
I had a question about some of the usage, like statistics around things like Next.js. So I know that Next seems like it's eclipsing a lot of things, like even Gatsby. It seems like in a lot of its usage, and I've been seeing that. I've been kind of hearing that rumored around. I'm just wondering how much of that. So I know Next can do non-Jamstack stuff as well. Is there a way to suss out who's using Next in a Jamstack context versus who's using it in like a full server rendered context? Or is it just like this is who's using Next in general?
Yeah, that's a problem. We have only data about using Next.js in general, and because of its variety, as you said. And I hope that someone from Next.js will hear about it or ping Guillermo, because I pinged him a couple of times, but I'm pretty sure he's busy. But in anyways, someone can ping him, poke him, or whatever, and say like we need some header, or we need something so it can be distinguished. So it will be really interesting to get this data next year and compare real data. I hope we can convince 11 folks, but we'll see.
Like, I'm just curious if you have any kind of qualitative data to go with the quantitative analysis. So like trends like Hugo and Jekyll and some of the more classic kind of static site generators, seems like they're losing a little bit of favor over time and it's being exchanged with more of the JavaScript based stuff like Gatsby and Next. And it seems like, in general, there's a lot of trends going toward JavaScript. So maybe that's why that's happening. But do you have is there any data or have you picked up any insights on why some of the older, I don't know if they're older, but like the more classic static site generators are declining and the JavaScript ones are taking over? Do you have any thoughts on that?
My guess would be that these three, like Next.js, Gatsby, Nuxt, they're really like strong players on the market. They push really hard their products, and we see that newcomers in Jamstack or even in web development, like getting into straight away into one of these three static site generators. And even inside our company, we got questions about how to build that, how to build this, uh, from support wise. So I think that's the main reason they really promoting really hard.
Awesome. Thank you. That was a great talk. Thanks.